we're explaining how to resolve the Firebase error missing or insufficient permissions error in Firestore. This frustrating error pops up when your Firebase project doesn't have the necessary permissions to access Firestore data. Let's break down how to fix it. 1. Verify the rules. First, head to your Firebase console, then to your Firestore database. Find the Rules section. These rules dictate who can access your data. Read, write, update, and delete. Carefully review your rules. Even a tiny mistake can cause this error. Common mistakes include overly restrictive rules that block all access or incorrect use of get, set, or other security functions. Make sure your rules allow the appropriate access for your app's authentication method. 2. Check authentication. Ensure your app is properly authenticating users. This error frequently arises if your app tries to access Firestore without a valid user session. Use Firebase authentication to sign in users securely. Double-check that you're using the correct authentication method, email, password, Google sign-in, etc., and that you're passing the correct credentials in your app. If you are using anonymous authentication, make sure it is enabled and configured correctly in your Firebase project. 3. Test your rules. After making changes to your rules, test them thoroughly. Firebase has a built-in rules simulator. You can use this tool to test scenarios like different user roles or authentication methods and ensure they behave as expected. This prevents deployment of faulty rules that will lead to the error. 4. Database security rules. Syntax. Pay close attention to syntax. Even a small typo, such as a missing bracket or comma, can prevent your rules from working correctly. Use the Firebase documentation as a reference to understand Firestore's rule syntax completely. The documentation provides many examples to guide you and even has a section for common errors. 5. Deployment issues. After modifying your rules, make sure you deploy the updated rules to your Firestore database. Failure to deploy means the new rules aren't active and the error persists. If you're using a framework like Angular Fire or React Fire, ensure that you are including the correct Firebase configuration and that your code is correctly initialized with that configuration. 6. Emulator Suite. When developing, use the Firebase Emulator Suite. This suite lets you test your app locally without affecting your production database, helping you find permission problems earlier in the development cycle, avoiding unnecessary deployments and potential errors. 7. Specific permissions. Firestore allows granular control over permissions. For example, you might grant read access to all users, but only allow write access to authenticated users with specific roles. Review and adjust your rules to align with your app's security needs. Remember to check the console logs for detailed error messages. They often pinpoint the exact part of your code or rules causing the issue. By carefully examining these areas, you can resolve the missing or insufficient permissions error and ensure your Firestore database is secure and accessible to the appropriate users.